Maybe. Dan Shaughnessy, did the Celtics choke this game away?
You know, you can look at it both ways. It wasn't as bad as some that I've seen. And, I mean, the Bucks, you got to give the Bucks credit in this case. I mean, they play like world champions. They stand up. They deliver. They're adults. I like their team. I've seen no quit in them. It's been a really good series. Around America, this is a great game. Here in Boston, this is bad. It's a choke job. This reminds me of the old Red Sox. This is like the pre-04 Red Sox, stuff that used to happen to them.
You know, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to go old bastard on you here, Dan Shaughnessy. I used to work with the guy at the Boston Globe. He was a columnist. And if he saw a game like this, he would have just slashed the Celtics.
Seriously.
I think his name was Dan.
No, but you know what? Dan is a hidden green teamer.
What is going on?
Dan's got a soft spot for the Celtics, and I'm seeing it now, aren't I?
What is this? What happened to Dan Shaughnessy?
I mean, you know, if you want to drive a pipe through them, you look at the offensive rebounds. You know, Milwaukee had 17. I think they had 5. That's like not working in the corners in hockey. That's the hard stuff that they didn't do. And you can go back to Game 3. The last game in Milwaukee, that was going to be a disaster. They were bitching to the officials the whole night, and then the fourth quarter they lit it up, made 16 out of 19 shots. I think you pointed this out in the past. They've had to shoot the lights out in order to beat these guys. They did it in 2 games. They didn't do it tonight. And, again, you get in a rock fight with these guys, they're going to beat you. I mean, the Celtics not having that timeout was deadly at the end. You can't leave yourself without one in your pocket. They had to go the length of the floor with 5.9 seconds to go. You talk about that play breaking down. There is no play. It's a quick thing after Connaughton makes the 2 free throws. And, again, you had to foul somebody. You were in a position you had to foul the free throw machine. That guy, he's like at the arcade. He'd make 25 out of 25 in that situation. They didn't touch the rim in their last 2 possessions. A block shot and a turnover. Not good.
So we're talking about the side out-of-bounds play with 11 seconds left on Marcus Smart. So, Dan, who do you blame? Do you blame Udoka for the timeout management? Do you blame Udoka for not drawing a better play up when Marcus Smart went baseline, for not settling the team down? I don't know. Who do you blame? Smart, the coach, someone else?
Well, again, Smart's not a true point guard. This is where you don't have Tiny Archibald on the floor. You know, this gets him in trouble in a situation like this. This is probably why they won't be world champions this year. They're not quite ready yet. I think, you know, Smart had the ball in his hands too much in those last 2 possessions, and it cost him on both possessions. Your best players are Brown and Tatum. They never touched the rock.
You know, I mentioned this earlier, this article by Tim Bontemps on ESPN.com. He says, Smart does, quoted an article saying, hey, finally, they give me a position, point guard, where they allow me to be great. You know, I was a Swiss Army knife before, but at point guard, I'm great. And I agree with you. He's not necessarily the quarterback who's going to protect the ball down the stretch. Tell me this. If you look at going into Game 6, they're going to Milwaukee. You know what this series has been. Do you think this thing is over, or will you be back at the Garden for Game 7?
The one thing about this series, there's been no carryover from game to game. You'd have no idea what's going to happen, and what they did in the fourth quarter in Game 4, there was none of that at the start tonight. They were 2 for 10 in threes in the first quarter tonight. So since there's been no carryover, I mean, a lot of teams would quit after what happened tonight, and they go to Milwaukee, mail it in. We don't want to do this again. So maybe they'll do the opposite. There's no predictions on this thing because I felt all along that Boston was marginally a better team, but the more I see of the Bucks, man, they don't have their second best player, Middleton, and they don't quit. They just stand up. So you got to like them at home in the next game. That should be it, which means we'll probably be back here Sunday.
Well, Dan, so I guess you just gave me your prediction, but do you worry about this leaving a psychological impact on the Celtics, being able to rebound from a loss like that? We've seen that happen, you know, across all sports when you lose a game like this.
No, I think you find out a little bit what they're made of going into this thing Friday, because they got to go on the road. They just had their hearts cut out in this game, and a lot of it's on them. But guys, you know, Smart, Brown, they were somewhat accountable at the end. We'll see if there's finger pointing going into the day tomorrow before the game Friday. You guys referenced earlier, maybe they brought Rob Williams back too soon. I've wondered about that. And the coach, this one's a little bit on him. I mean, no timeout in your pocket after Connaughton makes those free throws. That's tough. Big difference between inbounding at half court and going the length of the court with no pause to call a play there.
We've seen 5 games so far from Jayson Tatum. He had some points tonight, had a bunch of points tonight, but 29 shots as well. How would you assess him after 5 games in the series?
They've defended him really well. These aren't the Nets anymore. We've seen that. I mean, he had his moment in the Nets series. He played better than Durant, and I think for him that's a big win for him in the playoffs. But this thing has been a little bit going backwards. You know, maybe he's not quite ready yet. The one great game was played by Al Horford the last game. They both had 30 points, but Horford was by far the dominant figure in that game. So Tatum really hasn't had a chance. I think he shot 38% the first. His percentage is right around 40. And again, didn't hit a high percentage tonight either, but needed it Holiday, and he won the game for him.
Okay, what scares you the most if you're the Celtics going into Game 6, Danny?
I mean, the Milwaukee poise, their championship pedigree, and Giannis. Hey, tonight they called it traveling on Giannis and 2 charges. That's like seeing a total eclipse of the sun. So you got what you were looking for there. But you're not going to probably get that in Milwaukee. And again, he goes off for 40 just showing up. He's a mensch. I love the guy. I do.
All right, Danny, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.